Thank you. So I do a lot of these type of things, and I never ever prepare because I come from the school, the old school of music, like let's just read the crowd and figure out what we're going to do. But since this is Google, I have to give the appearance of trying to be prepared. So, no, honestly, normally I never prepare, but I decided I was going to prepare at least the subject. So my talk is going to be fact, music is ever evolving as proven by my brief career. I want to show you a quick film to just show you who I am, just in case you don't know the stuff I've done. This is just a small portion of the songs and music that I've done.
Hi, my name is Nile Rodgers, which is a combination of a river in Africa and a fantastic composer. People say I have a lot of bass in my voice for such a skinny person, but it has been that way since I was a child. I was born in New York City, where my mother and me had strange but interesting lives. When I was a teenager, I became a professional musician. My first real job was touring with a then new TV show called Sesame Street. Next, I worked in the house band at the world famous Apollo Theater in Harlem. Around that time, I met Bernard Edwards. He too had a lot of bass in his voice, and he also played bass guitar. He was one of the best musicians I have ever known. We formed a production company called the Chic Organization Limited and wrote, produced, and played songs for Ashford and Simpson, Luther Vandross, Chic, Norma Jean Wright, Sister Sledge, Diana Ross, Carly Simon, Teddy Pendergrass, and Debbie Harry. After a bizarre event called Disco Demolition, we disbanded the organization. But Bernard and I continued to work individually with Duran Duran, Madonna, Rod Stewart, The Power Station, Robert Plant, ABC, Ronald Isley, Nona Hendrix, Jeff Beck, David Bowie, the B-52s, Depeche Mode, Slash, Cyndi Lauper, Peter Gabriel, Jody Watley, the Thompson Twins, Mick Jagger, Eric Clapton, the Vaughan Brothers, INXS, Paul Simon, Hall & Oates, Laurie Anderson, Sheena Easton, Grace Jones, Al Jarreau, Brian Ferry, Sting, Eddie Murphy, David Lee Roth, Narda Michael Walden, Nick Ocasek, Mariah Carey,
David Sanborn, Joss Stone, Bob Dylan, Britney Spears, Maroon 5, Adam Lambert, Sam Sparrow, LaRue, Mark Ronson, Jason Statham, Alex Newell, Etienne Daho, Otto Quest, Nicky Romero, Michael McDonald, Tensnake, Disclosure, David Guetta, Avicii, Mystery Skull, Sam Smith, Pharrell Williams, Daft Punk, Michael Jackson, and many others.
Chic reformed at my birthday party in the early 90s at the China Club, New York City, where Bernard Edwards, Paul Schaefer, Fonzie Thornton, Alpha Anderson, and Lucy Martin jammed. Chic did a record, and Prince promoted us in his Sexy Mother video. We toured in Japan, where Bernard passed away after the last show. I never thought I would play any Chic music without him. 1 year later, a Japanese promoter asked me to play Chic music in tribute to Bernard. It inspired me, and ever since I have played Chic music more and more. Now I'm ready to feel the gentle rain of live dance music wash over my soul again, and I want you to come along with me. The music business has changed, but the funky party people are still here. Let the rain begin.
I figured you were smart people so you could keep up with all the visual references and all that sort of thing. But anyway, to address the fact that music is ever evolving, I'm going to talk about something that I think is really interesting that just proves my point. As I say, I never prepare, so this is funny for me to look at a note. But Darwin actually theorized that there was a musical proto-language that actually existed before we could actually speak, before there was language. That in fact, music was around before we could speak. And think about it, it actually makes sense that there was a way to communicate where you could take, waveforms, whether they were punching somebody in the head or smacking somebody in the head or going or grunting or what have you, and you could take those organized waveforms and communicate with people even though you didn't actually have speech yet. So I think Darwin was onto something. Anyway, in my career, I'm showing you that music has never stopped evolving. When I was a kid and I wrote my very first song, which was a long, long time ago, it was a hit. I got a hit record, my very first record. I got signed to Atlantic Records to a singles deal. And that record went on to sell millions and millions of copies. And then I got an album deal. And that record went on to sell millions and millions of copies. And then the head of the label asked me to write for somebody else on the label because he wanted them to sell millions of copies. let me prove this example. So we talked about, I know a lot of people have heard about the recent lawsuit with Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams and stuff like that, and blah, blah, blah. And, and I want to talk about music evolving. And it always evolves. And so when I was 16 years old, or 15 or 16, something like that, 16, maybe even 17, me and some of my friends, we decided to go up to Woodstock. And we were going up to Woodstock. We wanted to hear Hendrix, and we wanted to hear Country Joe and the Fish and all that sort of thing. But we actually were in love with this band called the Children of God. And the reason why I wanted to see the Children of God, because they used to have this amazing song called Do What You Want to Do. And in the middle of this song called Do What You Want to Do, they had this chromatic progression that was a series of dominant ninth chords that moved up chromatically from D to A. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. And this was just some sort of fusion folky band. But it was just their musical composition was the coolest thing. And it went, and they stuck that in the middle of some folk song. And I was 17 years old, and I kept that in my head. So we go back to evolution. So fast forward a couple of years later, now I have a record deal, and they want me to write for other people. So I meet this group called Sister Sledge, and they ask me to write music for Sister Sledge to help define their careers. Well, I had never met Sister Sledge. I didn't know anything about them. But the head of the record company told me that they were like family to them and blah, 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 this and that and so and so. So after we pretended to act like business people, we pretended to know what we were doing, we went home and we looked at the CEO's rap, his sales pitch to us, and they were actually the basis of the lyrics of We Are Family. So I went and I wrote, we are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. So I wrote that part. But here's the part that I didn't write. I sort of stole, or it evolved, from the Children of God and my trip to Woodstock. So that's the part of We Are Family that we sort of all notice. But to do the proper turnaround of this chorus, it just wasn't interesting enough with the stuff that I knew. But what I did was I took the stuff that I learned at 17 years old and stuck it in the middle of this. So when we turned the chorus around, when I played that for the people who were in the Children of God, they didn't even recognize it. I said, I stole this from you. You know, the great classical composer Verdi said that good composers borrow and great composers steal. I stole that right from the Children of God, played it for them, and they had no idea. And then when I showed it to them, and then I sang their song, and I sang Do What You Want to Do, and then put it in there, and they went, oh my God, I get it. So that was a sort of pretty extreme example, but it really worked. So even the composers of the original thing, they didn't know it until I played it for them, sang their song, and showed it to them. So fast forward, now I'm Nile Rodgers, got hit records, I got Freak Out and all this sort of thing. I meet this gentleman named David Bowie after an unfortunate event happened in America called Disco Sucks, because I built my career on disco. I had one hit record after the next, blah, 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 and I was Mr. Disco, you know. Freak out, bop, do-do-do-do-do, the freak say chic, and everything was going great. We are family. And one night in the disco, oh, what, wow, he's the greatest dancer. So everything was great. Disco Sucks, 1979. No record exec would even answer my phone call. I was like persona non grata. Like, that was it, done. Disco sucked, you suck, pal. No gigs, nothing. So I meet this guy, David Bowie, in a bar at an after-hours joint, and we just fall in love with each other right away. It's just like magic. I don't know, because I love jazz, he loved jazz. He didn't know anything about my background. He didn't know about my classical background or anything. But once we started talking, we connected. So we decided on the spot we were going to do a record together. So I come over to Switzerland, and he invites me into, well, actually, he comes into my bedroom one morning, and he goes, "Nah, darling, I think I've got a hit. I wrote this last night." And he comes into my bedroom. I'm going to do the truncated version because, unfortunately, I have to catch a plane, like, instantly. And I was dying to meet Stephen Hawking, so I was like, wow, I was like over there. But anyway, sorry about that. So David walks into my room and he goes, "Nah, darling, I think I have this hit record." And he goes, I said, "Really, David? What do you call that?" I'd like to call that Let's Dance. I was like, "David, I'm black. I come from dance music. You know, I'm the disco guy, right? We can't call that let's dance." He says, no, it's about the juxtaposition of a relationship and the dance of life. And I was like, whoa, no, brother, this is pop music. You can't talk about the juxtaposition, no. I said, so anyway, so I took his composition, talk about it evolving, and so instead of me doing his little moving voice thing, and that may not be exactly what David played, it may not have been that corny, but it was pretty corny. So I moved it to here, and I went, that was better, but not cool enough, because in A, we have these overtones on the guitar. So I thought, I moved it to B flat rather, from A to B flat, or A to A sharp in England. I'm not sure what you guys want to call it, but all of a sudden it wasn't resonating so much. It was actually muted and funky. And I went, oh my God, how cool is that? So I took away the moving voice and went, but that still wasn't quite cool enough. Then I inverted it up an octave and went, and David went, I love that. And I said, well, check this out. I put in a very jazzy chord. Now that chord, the first chord is a B flat 11, sus 11, whatever you want to call it, your terminology. The second chord was a B flat minor 13. This doesn't appear in pop songs, let alone David Bowie pop songs. So I went to, and then I went to a sixth chord, and then to a straight minor 7. So even though I write ensemble music, I'm going to try and play this thing so you get the holistic point of view of how it sort of came out. Even though I did not chuck. On the actual record, all I did was go, and then let the delays make the kind of sound. But the holistic vibe after we did this, because remember I said I'm black, I come from dance music, disco, I wanted to be funky. When we finally finished, it had this kind of vibe. So what had started out as a sort of folky type of, song about the juxtaposition of love and life and blah, 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 and the dance of relationships and what have you, became an actual real funky R&B song about dancing. And David's poetic message lived underneath it, but the song continued to evolve. Obviously, then I orchestrated and what have you. So the best example of the evolution of music and how it never stops evolving. Last night I was talking to this gentleman over here, Mr. Steve Stout, and he was talking about, hey, Niall, why don't you talk about the relationship between EDM, which is electronic dance music, and disco and things like that. I was thinking, well, that's sort of almost pretty obvious, but I'm going to try and show people by example something that's maybe a little less obvious. So in 1979, the year of Disco Sucks, when I actually had 2 #1 records, both disco. The first was called Le Freak. The second was called Good Times. When I wrote Good Times, I was just writing a chic song. It was just cool to me, and it went, the basic, good times, these are the good times, leave your cares behind, these are the good times. Normally I play much funkier than that because I'm with the band and we're going, good times. But anyway, for the purpose of this example, I'm playing it lame, so don't think that I'm playing lame because I play lame. I'm trying to be extreme here. So anyway, a few months later, after disco sucked, some other guys decided that disco didn't suck. And they took Good Times, the exact song, and came up with this. And by the way, we sold millions of copies of Good Times. But when these guys came up with this, they sold tens and tens and tens of millions. I says a hip hop to hippie, the hippie dibby hip hip hop. We don't stop, rock it to the bang bang, the boogie say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear is not a test, cause I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try and move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple and yellow. But first, I gotta bang bang the boogie to the boogie, say up jump the boogie to the bang bang boogie, let's rock. We don't stop, like the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Anyway, these guys took our riff. They took our riff that we thought was sacred, just as I had taken the Children of God's riff that they thought was sacred, and it had evolved. They did a few little things different, but anybody who's ever heard Rapper's Delight and hears Good Times, they know it's pretty much the exact same song with just a few little nips and tucks. So what happens is that the music evolves. It has no choice. It's just like life. It's just like everything else on this planet, right? We evolve. Everything gets better. Well, everything is supposed to get better, but everything changes. Things absolutely change. And in my life, I have gone from a guy who just composes the stuff and the basics and what have you, or I come in and I help the artist music evolve. I help, when Daft Punk, when we did Get Lucky, it wasn't Get Lucky, it was another thing. It had to take all of these people, all of these brains, this whole process of everybody getting involved to help this thing evolve. We had to get involved. And, it's funny, people argue whether these things happen naturally or was it, was this predetermined by God? And, I just met my hero, Stephen Hawking, and he was I was dying. I was having like a super fanboy moment because one of his favorite sayings, I'm going to probably paraphrase him poorly, but Mr. Hawking, Professor Hawking says that even people who believe in things that are predetermined still look both ways before crossing the street. So this does not happen by magic. We are part of this process of evolution. And the fact that music continues to evolve, the fact that, like Stephen says, that EDM is just a natural progression of hip hop that started with jazz or whatever, or R&B or funk or gospel or whatever you want to call it. It's just these things, these categories that we determine moments in time. This is just what's happening right now at times so that we can market it and we can get the affinity group to be down with it, right? That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. I mean, if somebody happens to come up with a hit that's completely retro, I remember in the 80s when Billy Joel did his song called Uptown Girl. It was totally reminiscent of the 50s. But in the 80s, we were dancing to it like it was like this cool new song. Uptown Girl. when you're living in your, and it was like some old school doo-wop stuff. Paul Simon did this over and over again. So all I'm really trying to say is that throughout my career, and as I said, I was trying to make this example by using my career to show this evolutionary process that takes place with music. This is something that will never stop. You know, I watch my industry, the music industry, have ups and downs like everything else. But the truth is that this process of evolving is just natural. And it takes clever people, it takes dedicated people, it takes loving people, it takes people who are obsessed with making it better. As Verdi says, it takes really great thieves to take this music and move it to another level. I always tell people who are my students that I work with, I say the single greatest motivation when it comes to music, single greatest motivation. Number one is jealousy. And it's the truth. It's the truth. One of the 7 deadly sins is the single greatest motivation is because when we hear a composition and that we love it, it just takes us over. We go, damn, I wish I had written that. But what if it went like this? When I heard the Children of God and I heard that chromatic thing, I went, damn, that's cool. But what if it went like this? And I stuck We Are Family around it. And the Sugar Hill Gang stuck Rappers Delight around Good Times, and they had that. And guys, I got to get out of here because I'm going to New York. Oh, no, I've got to go all the way to L.A. to do American Idol. Oh, no. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you.